A lot of discussion about it.
Well, welcome back. Dive 582. Just had a little internet outage there for a hot second, but it gave us a chance to kick on over to part 3. We were coming up on that anyway. I'm just coming on my shift. Across the front row, we've got Kat over in science, and then Zach piloting, Ben in co-pilot, and then myself, Alex, in the MMTC right now.
So we're actually imaging a wall at 550 meters at depth. We've actually mapped it over the last few hours, and now we're carrying video surveys across, and we've been very impressed by the size of some of the corals we've seen. So we'll go and revisit and take a few beautiful shots and show you all what those corals look like.
So I think that main structure is kind of going up and away now, so I'll just keep going until we get to the same sort of area.
So this morning we used our multi-beam sonar, but instead of having it looking down, we had it looking sideways at the wall as we were traveling just like this, but a little bit further away, so we could get the sound waves to hit the wall and get all these layers in the rocks, in these crannies, and some of the harder corals will get returns from our signal, our sound signal, and that will allow us to reconstruct this wall in 3 dimensions at very high resolution. So all these little lines that we see in the rock, we might be able to capture some of that.
Okay, I think that's right around the neighborhood.
All right, if we could go to 570.
Yeah.
Is that the end of that video transect?
And a video transect.
What depth was that one at? I'll make note.
555.
All right, we got Chill jumping
Or the
in
bottom.
on pilot.
In some places that might be the bottom.
Yeah, sure.
Zach bumping over into co-pilot.
Pero a veces es que se ve porque queremos poner imágenes Lo segundo, digamos, fuera de ratas, ratate. Algunos que simplemente se ven desde lejos que tienen ratate, porque tú puedes decir desde lejos que
It's like when you erupt into water, so the outside cools instantly, right, but at the inside,
es como yo hice lo mismo, yo hice esta de corales.
You had about 2.5 meters away from the walls, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you get someone in who really isn't doing it, they're not gonna put in their own wash tank, and then they're sitting there and it's gonna go to the last place we see.
Pero también he incluido especies de otras guías. Victor,
All right. This is a good spot.
Alright. 2.5 meters and then we go.
We've done one before.
Alright, ready?
Ready?
There we go.
Yeah.
Start a video transect.
Cool.
Eso de reportes diferentes, Reefs,
Would you like this one described in a particular way?
570 meters.
Esta de acá es bien diferente.
Yeah. It does. I just figure it's probably better than not having it and drifting up and down.
We just got a Chrysogorgia,
Cristóbal,
some sponges.
el Brignoids, el Madrepora. This Madrepora is very different from the others that we saw before in the previous book.
Oh, so Belen, why is that Madrepora different?
I don't know why it's different, but I know it is different.
How is it different? Can you
It's
describe it?
different, yeah. There's some Madreporas that are thicker. They have the base is a lot thicker.
Okay.
They kind of create bigger structures, and there are some that are a bit more fragile and thinner. And we observe both of them here in Galapagos.
And we don't
And
know
maybe-
the
no.
difference between them at the moment?
We cannot tell from an image exactly which one is one yet, because there's even 4 different morphotypes.
And by morphotype we mean same species, but they look slightly
Yes.
different. Okay.
Exactly. Same. I mean, the thing is, we have very little data from this. That's why we are collecting. So to tell if actually there are different species,
At the
because
genetic
we know
level.
we know the genus, but then the species, we still are better to write just Madrepora, because Madrepora oculata, for example, from the Mediterranean, is completely different. But it, not completely, but a lot different from what we see here. But both are Madrepora. One of the Madreporas, the thicker one, we were talking with colleagues, because inside there is a worm that grows inside,
Okay.
and there is a publication from Robert Muller that
Uh-huh.
finds similar association with a worm, but with Lophilia.
Okay.
And what they found is that this worm, because this worm creates a calcareous structure,
Uh-huh.
actually they have a symbiosis that helps those corals to create a more strong structure. And here we find a very similar one, and when we find that the coral, the base is extremely hard. It's very hard to break.
Okay, when the worm is there,
The
so the
worm
worm
is
is
there.
helping the
Yes.
coral stay stronger.
Yes, exactly. It kind of creates a hole inside of the coral
Okay.
in the base, but the cover, the tube that the worm creates, the coral kind of use and grows around. It's very interesting. So we have the species here. It's a red worm that we have.
Okay, and is the worm specific to the coral? So it's like the worm that's found in Lophilia is different from the worm that's found in Madrepora?
The one that they found in Lophilia is a specific worm, and that would be interesting to do the genetics of this worm to see if this one is specific of this Madrepora. Yeah.
Very interesting. So if you're following online, we're now at 570 doing a transect. And since I've been here for a little while and seen some of the shallower portion, this definitely looks a little bit more inhabited by sponges.
see that fracture? That is
Ooh, chimera.
superb structural geology. Oh, this is pretty cool. We're not going to go over it, like I said, like, something coming up, like,
Symbiosis between Lophilia pertusa and units vertical wall, and yeah, these worms are so cool. This is a publication. Es Cristina Miller. No lo he enviado. No lo he enviado. ¿Lo envió?
Molly? How's it going?
No, este lo acabo de enviar. Este Facebook. Sí.
Yeah. Did you do anything last night?
I'm alright.
come on, you want one.
I'm okay. I've not opened the cupboards yet. I've not opened the cupboards.
Just on that, we tried that descent stuff, and then that's okay. Wait. It's a pretty nice area. A lot of corals on it. It's,
We're deeper now, so it's definitely more spongy.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when we go back up,
yeah.
big fan.
Yeah.
Muchas gracias.
So you're gonna have a chance to jump in for half an hour. So
Thank you.
that area.
Most definitely.
Yeah. That's the video.
Yeah, we're just doing one last video. This is pretty much the base.
Yeah.
But like we're definitely seeing different organisms, like different communities.
Rough time frame for
Ooh,
what heads back up that way.
5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Type that we were seeing
yeah,
earlier.
this one is the one that we have observed a lot here.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
How do you tell Metropora from Stylaster, for example?
Oh, those are very different. Well, the color is pretty different. The stilasters are white, they're smaller, the polyps are completely different if we have a zoom. But just from here, for example, if we're watching that, I can tell that that one over there, the small one, is in the stilaster because it's very small and very thin and white. But to really know what it is, we should have a close-up and look at the small structures. Yeah.
At the polyps, right? So
Yeah,
what are the
at-
polyps?
So corals are colonial, and so they are formed by these little individuals. Each individual is one polyp, and the group of polyps create the coral structure, the colonial animal, the colonial organism that we see. That is not only one, but actually will be several that create one big coral. But there are some corals that are like cup corals that are only one polyp, but Madrepora is formed by several. Yeah.
Thank you, Belen. Can we go back? I think we dropped a marker on the big coral.
If you want to say something, Jorge, si usted quiere explicar algo que quiera, te puede explicar. Esto sabe bastante sobre muchas cosas. Puede explicar. Por ejemplo, sí, este erizo de mar que estamos viendo blanco, lo vemos en todas partes. Aquí en esta área hay muchos de estos, pero no muy cerca, son como que alejados. ¿Usted ha visto ese antes y ese patrón antes? Sí. mussels are called jelly nose because they have a very soft nose when they are captured.
Sure.
Y este de aquí se parece mucho al orange roachy, pero es del Pacífico, ¿verdad?
We're just looking for getting a couple beautiful shots.
Yeah. We've got some lighting ideas in mind. Remember we did that one we did earlier, Ben? Let's try to recreate that.
Yeah, another one. ¿Y este de aquí qué es?
Alright, that's one of the
Yeah.
large corals we've observed on this wall. Beautiful. What species do we think, or genus?
Calogorgia. I think it's a Calogorgia galapagensis, but it's a Calogorgia. I'm not sure exactly which species, but might be a Galapagensis. We saw something very similar before. It was a Calogorgia galapagensis.
So what are the characteristics of the Calogorgia?
So the pattern of the divisions, you have that center that is thicker, and then it divides in several ramifications, and the ramifications divide again in several ramifications, and yeah, it grows very large and has a lot of associated organisms.
Okay.
But then again, to know exactly what it is, we will have to look at the microscopic structure. But we can tell that this is a prinoid and a Calogorgia very likely. But I believe it's a Galapagensis. And look at that,
And look
he's
at
saying
this wet
hi.
lobster, and then we have another species of crab on top of there too. So any thoughts, Belen, on why the organisms might be inhabiting this coral like that?
So in this case, corals that have this three-dimensional structure, these large branches, are very provide this structure where organisms can attach. And for example, as you can see here with these crustaceans, they are opening their legs. They have more area to feed, and also corals will collect some snow, so they can find nutrients there. They can protect themselves from predators. In the case of this particular one, maybe they are on top of it because this is a very vertical structure, and this is a good substrate to stay on. But Tim is a specialist in associates, and he was explaining that many of these species, we see them again and again in this specific same coral. So they kind of create a symbiosis. They stay there with the specific corals. So they find shelter, and they also find food in these corals, and some of them stay there forever.
That's amazing. I can count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Over 15 different individuals on that coral.
Yeah, it's like
Three
the
different species.
forest.
Yeah, at
There's
least a
some
few different
spots,
species.
there's
Yeah,
Some
decorators
crab.
on there.
Yeah.
and that's very interesting because many people think that only hard corals are the important corals, like Madrepora and Dendrophilium that we see a lot here.
Can I zoom in a bit?
But these prinoids are
Sure.
as important because of the amount of biodiversity that they can contain within.
In deep waters, probably the octocorals are more important. In deep waters, the octocorals are probably more important as engineering species
Yes.
than the hard corals because they're much, much larger
Yes.
than the black corals.
Yeah, and that's very like now we are just thinking, but in vertical walls, very hard corals will fall down because they are heavy. In the other hand, these type of prinoids and octocorals in general, they will more likely be able to stay in this vertical wall. So we observe a lot of this type of organisms that promote biodiversity.
So I'll zoom in so we can see the polyps that
Wow.
Belen was describing. It's a little hard to zoom while we're flying, but we can see they're like
Yeah,
really small, just like tiny, tiny anemones all together.
Exactly. So the polyps are very important, but also they have sclerites. So later we can, if we take a piece of this coral, we can extract the sclerites, which are calcareous structures that are different for each group and each species of coral. And so specialist taxonomists use this type of structures to identify for sure which species is one from another. Yeah.
And we can see in the background some cup corals, so I'll zoom on those. So that's the ones Belen was mentioning were solitary. So instead of being a whole lot together, they're all slightly separate, and their polyps are a little bigger, so it's easier to see.
Exactly. So each of those, each individual will be one only polyp. And in the case of the colonial corals, you have several polyps.
So they do tend to cluster together.
Yeah,
All
some
right.
of them, yes.
Few last shots of this beautiful Calogorgia. Belen, any thoughts on how old it could be?
So from previous expedition, we understand that these type of corals can be probably a couple of hundreds, if not more. A couple of hundreds as little, like 200 years old at least. This coral can be very likely, if not 500 years old. So we better don't cut it.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, a pleasure.
And you're taking over?
Yeah. That's all right.
Yeah. Towards the top, there was a lot.
Oh, here we go.
It's huge. Oh, the biggest we've seen so far. Sí, tengo que hacerle un video con mi teléfono.
We did just that, but it was a different coral. It had these.
All right, folks. We're gonna probably hop off for about a half hour, grab some shots here. We will be back in a little bit with part 4.
Same thing, same way.